In an alternate universe where everyone always tells the truth without exception, people say exactly what they think and feel, often leading to awkward or uncomfortable situations. Mark Belly's son, a chubby, struggling screenwriter in his 40s, is on his way to pick up his date. He navigates the twists and turns inside a luxury apartment building, finally finding her apartment and knocking on the door. A beautiful woman answers. Since humans have no reservations about telling the truth, however absurd or straightforward, the woman tells Mark he is early and she just started masturbating. Mark immediately replies that it now makes him think of her private parts. He then introduces himself and asks her how she's doing. She tells him that she's a little frustrated and equally depressed and pessimistic about their date tonight before introducing herself as Anna. She invites Mark in, saying her bedroom is upstairs, and tells him to wait on the sofa while she finishes getting ready. She adds that she might realize she's still horny and try to finish masturbating without him hearing. Mark is left alone, looking around before sitting on the sofa to wait. Mark tries to start a conversation, admitting he's embarrassed because he thinks the restaurant he made reservations at may not be expensive enough for her, since it's all he could afford. He elaborates that, despite being in his 40s, he has no real financial assets, and his boss told him he is going to get fired this week. As Anna walks down the stairs smiling, Mark stands up from the sofa. Anna tells him she just masturbated, to which he immediately replies that makes him horny and he hopes the date ends in sex. Anna straightforwardly tells him she doesn't find him attractive and hurriedly asks if they can go. Mark agrees and stands up as Anna grabs her purse, and they leave the apartment together. At the restaurant, Anna's phone rings. She answers, speaking to her mom on the other end of the line. She blatantly tells her mom in front of Mark that he is not attractive, doesn't make much money, is a bit fat with a funny little snub nose, but is kind of funny and nice. She continues to tell her mom she won't be sleeping with him tonight or even giving him a kiss before ending the phone call. Their dinner date concludes with 3 empty margarita glasses in front of Anna. As the waiter hands over the bill, he asks if she would call him if he gave her his number, to which Anna says no. The next scene shows the two stopping by Anna's apartment building. Mark thanks Anna for going on a date with him, reiterating that he knows she is way out of his league and went out with him only as a favor to her friend Greg, and that he most likely will never hear from her again. Anna responds by telling him she actually had a better time than she thought she would, but won't know for sure how she feels about him until she's less drunk. Mark cheerfully tells her to call him tomorrow if she still likes him when she's sober, to which Anna replies that she might. Mark leans in for a kiss, but Anna kisses him on the cheek and goes inside. Mark happily thanks her for the kiss as Anna waves goodbye. The next morning, Mark wakes up and goes to work. He reaches the office building, and as he enters, a group of people being led by a tour guide sees Mark passing through. The tour guide introduces him as one of their very own screenwriters. The whole tour turns toward Mark, who turns around and dejectedly waves. The tour guide adds that Mark is one of their least successful writers and that he's also heard he's most likely getting fired today. After a long and awkward exchange of hurtful truths and blatant pleasantries with his receptionist, Mark heads to his office. Shelley, Mark's worst and most anticipated fear, finally happens. He is fired from his job by his reluctant boss, who dreads confrontations. He is fired because his films set in the 1300s are boring and have minimal appeal to audiences. Before leaving with his work belongings, he is humiliated by Brad Kessler, a very attractive man and one of the most successful screenwriters in historical films. Brad further insults Mark by telling him he's always hated him and elaborates that Mark is a terrible writer assigned to a lackluster century. However, he also admits that he was always threatened by Mark because he knew there was something about him he didn't understand. Brad then storms off, telling Mark to enjoy his loser life. Mark leaves in shame. The following morning, Mark wakes up to his usual 7:30 a.m. alarm and hard knocks on his door from his landlord, asking for rent. He tries to reason with the landlord, explaining that he got fired from work and has only $300 left in his bank account. The landlord insists he pay the entire $800 or move out. Drowning in shame and desperation, Mark goes to the bank to close his account and take whatever money is left. The teller tells him their system is down at the moment and asks him the amount of money he wants to withdraw. At the peak of his despair, something suddenly comes over him. His face turns a light shade of red as the wheels begin to spin in his brain. Suddenly, he looks at the teller dead in her eyes. The teller asks him again, "Sir?" To which he immediately replies, $800. The system comes back up, and the teller tells him he only has $300 in his account. Mark doesn't know what to say. He tries to speak, but nothing comes out. In a sudden twist of fate, the teller apologizes to Mark and tells him it seems their system made a mistake, proceeding to give him $800 in large bills as Mark requested. Mark nervously walks out of the bank and smiles cheerfully when he realizes what he just did. Mark has discovered lying and got away with it. He then proceeds to give his rent to his confused landlord, who asks him where he got the money. Mark lies, telling him he came into some unexpected cash. He just found the money lying on the street. The next day, Mark is at the bar having drinks with his friend Greg, trying to explain what he just discovered, or in his own words, invented. Mark has a difficult time finding the right word to explain exactly what he means, so he just tells Greg he said something that wasn't true. Greg shrugs, obviously not understanding what a lie is. Still frustrated by his inability to explain, Mark decides to experiment by making up lies to Greg and the bartender, telling them his name is Doug. The two believe him without hesitation. Mark, even more frustrated, proceeds to tell more lies, including that he's black, he's an Eskimo, he's a pirate, a lion tamer with a wig, that he invented the bicycle, and lastly, that he's a one-armed German explorer. Greg and the bartender believe and justify all of those lies, which makes Mark even more disappointed. Mark then asks the bartender and Greg what they would do if they could make the world the way they wanted it to be, including the ability to do anything and everything. Greg and the bartender unanimously answer that they would want to touch women's boobs and have sex with them. Mark hesitantly agrees as he stands up and walks out of the bar. Mark walks the street like a hunter looking for his prey. Within seconds, he spots a gorgeous blonde walking towards him. The blonde walks past him, but after a long pause, Mark shouts at her to wait and proceeds to blurt out that the world is going to end if they don't have sex right now. The blonde looks confused and hesitant, but as this is a world where everyone tells the truth, she believes him and reluctantly agrees, and they head to the nearest motel. However, before anything happens, Mark is troubled by his conscience. He eventually fakes a phone call to NASA and tells the woman that the world is not going to end and that everyone is safe. This unprecedented act of lying marks the beginning of Mark's career as a liar, using it to his advantage in every situation he encounters. Mark prevents a police officer from arresting his friend Greg for drunk driving by simply telling the officer that Greg is not drunk. The officer believes him immediately. On their way to the casino to make money by cheating, Mark devises a plan to get rich. He starts by cheating at the roulette table, replacing his bets on the winning number, to which the dealer automatically agrees. Then, he goes to the slot machines and informs the casino manager that he won a major jackpot, but no money came out. The manager instantly apologizes and congratulates him on his winnings. Mark and Greg, each carrying 4 giant buckets overflowing with chips and money, waddle through the casino. Greg remarks that this has been the most amazing night of his life, to which Mark agrees. Later on, Mark has an enlightening conversation with his neighbor Frank, who confides in him about contemplating ending his life that night. Mark eventually saves him by telling him not to do it and assures him that everything will be okay and that he will meet someone soon and be happy. Mark soon discovers that lying can be used for good. He begins to perform good deeds throughout the day. He helps a homeless man get money from the bank. Outside lecture films, Mark talks to a woman who is adamant about not wanting to go to work. He whispers a few words into her ear, and she smiles, picks up her briefcase, and gladly walks to work. He also helps an arguing couple reconcile at the coffee shop. Mark is at the elderly home, walking the halls and whispering to his grandmother and each elderly person he passes, leaving each one of them with a smile on their faces and some with tears streaming down their cheeks. Later that night, Mark hangs out with Frank at his apartment, having some beers and enjoying their time watching TV. One night, after convincing Anna to go out with him again on the phone, Mark stumbles upon a lecture films documentary in which the narrator praises Brad Kessler as the best documentary writer. This inspires Mark to write a new screenplay about the 14th century being invaded by aliens, ending with the assertion that everyone's memories had been erased. He finishes the script and pitches it to his old boss and to everyone at Lecture Films. Everyone loves it, including Brad Kessler. Mark and his film become a big blockbuster, making him rich and famous beyond his wildest dreams. Despite all of this success and having convinced Anna to go out on a date with him again, she still rejects him as she is not attracted to him due to his genetics and appearance. During their date, Mark receives a phone call informing him that his mom just had a fatal heart attack. In another turning point of his life, Mark rushes to the hospital room to find his mother, Martha, looking tired and scared while hooked up to dozens of machines. Mark's mother, Martha, tells him that she's scared of dying and the eternal nothingness it brings. Teary-eyed and not knowing what to do, Mark tells her that she's wrong about the eternity of nothingness. He then proceeds to tell her about all the good things after death, including mansions for everyone and the ability to be with all the people she loved and who loved her. He also tells her that she will be young again, and there will be no sadness or pain, only love, laughter, and happiness. Martha soon passes away with a tear of glimmering hope rolling down her face. After some time of mourning, Mark's supposed knowledge about death makes him famous worldwide. The nurses at the hospital had overheard what he told his mother, and the news spread quickly like wildfire. People start to gather around him, seeking answers about the afterlife, and he becomes something of a prophet or a religious figure. With encouragement from Anna, Mark comes up with 10 rules or commandments for living a good life and securing a place in the good afterlife. He claims to talk to a man in the sky who controls everything and promises great rewards in the afterlife as long as you do no more than 3 bad things. This televised event makes Mark a global phenomenon and starts a sort of religion among his followers. Despite all the fame and success he earns, Mark is still conflicted by his own happiness and his gift for lying. During a date at the park with Anna, she asks him if being rich and famous would make their children more physically attractive. Despite his urge to lie, Mark does not do it because of his love for Anna and tells her it wouldn't. As a result, Anna continues dating Mark's rival, Brad Kessler, who is jealous of Mark's success. Brad's selfish and cruel behavior, including restricting her diet, makes Anna uncomfortable, but she still agrees to marry him. Mark wrestles with his emotions and the implications of his ability to lie. The world believes in his stories about the afterlife, and he uses his influence to spread kindness and hope. However, he is heartbroken that Anna, the woman he loves, is choosing to marry Brad, who treats her poorly. Mark continues to do good deeds and make the world a better place, but he remains conflicted about the impact of his lies on his own happiness and the world around him. After a long while, we see Mark waking up one morning in his mansion with long, biblical-style hair and a beard. Anna walks in, tells him she's busy with work, and adds that she came over to tell him she's getting married, handing him an invitation. Mark waves it away and pleads with her not to go through with it. Anna tells him the wedding is tomorrow and that she would like him to come. Mark asks her why, and she says it would make her happy, and being around him makes her happy. Mark quickly asks her, "Then why are you marrying him?" Anna explains that she only has a few years to marry someone with good genes and financial stability, so she can have children and the family she has always wanted. She also adds that one day she will be old and wrinkly and ugly. Mark quickly tells her that she won't be, not to him, and she will never be ugly. Anna, teary-eyed and unsure of how to reply, tells him he's confusing her. After a few moments, Anna asks him to take the invitation, which Mark accepts, and he bids her to have a nice life as she starts to cry and walks out of the mansion. Later that day at the park, Anna sees a chubby boy enjoying ice cream, reminding her of what her and Mark's kids might look like. Half of the kids' genetics would come from Mark. The boy is later bullied for being fat by other kids, prompting Anna to interfere. She consoles the boy and tells him he is so much more than being short and fat. Despite being called Short Fat Brian, she calls him just Brian with a warm smile. The morning before the wedding, Greg convinces Mark that he still has a chance with Anna. Mark attends Anna and Brad's wedding, where he objects to the marriage but is told that only the man in the sky could stop it. Brad and Anna ask Mark to ask the man in the sky what Anna should do, but he refuses, wanting Anna to make the decision for herself. Anna walks out, and Mark confesses his ability to lie. Anna struggles to understand the concept but eventually professes her love for him. In the end, Anna and Mark are shown having dinner as a happily married couple with a son who seems to have inherited his father's ability to lie. The chubby, snub-nosed boy clearly exhibits this gift by telling Anna their meal is good, even though he and his father know it is not. Mark then teases his son to finish his food and tells Anna their son loves it.